thank you everybody for joining us. This is the So That Happened podcast, week 2, as you can tell by us just screwing everything up. I am Cody. I am joined by Emperor Tiger Star, Tristan from Step Back History, and my friend Tyler, who I previously introduced. So everyone just go quickly through while I try to desperately get a new picture up, because I just forgot to do that.
I am Emperor Tiger Star. My channel is Animated Maps.
My name is Tristan. I run Step Back History. It's a history channel. That's better than the History Channel.
And my name is Tyler. I used to be affiliated with Cody way back in the day on his channel.
Finally got that done. So the funny thing is, Tyler's actually here with me right now, because apparently he doesn't have a computer.
Yeah, I might have the absolute worst luck with technology. I'm building one right now, so once that's said and done with, we can do this the right and proper way and not the jank way we're trying to do it right now.
What happened to your last one?
Hard drive failure.
Was that the one with...
The Lenovo one.
Oh, that was expensive too.
Yeah, so like I said, I had the absolute worst luck with computers. So I'm just going to build one so when it does die, I can just pull the part out and put a new part in and be done with it.
I'm going to move the microphone right there.
Do it.
Makes it easier.
All these people who just know how to build computers, and I don't, so I just keep buying new ones.
Well,
Hey,
I don't know how to build one either, but I'm just told it's plug and play, so I'll just keep plugging stuff in until something works.
My brother did it. It says apparently pretty easy.
That's what everybody has told me. So I can fix cars. I can probably build a computer.
But he also made it out of a literal suitcase.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
He made his entire desktop off of a literal suitcase. And
That's
you say it's
badass.
cool, but it also almost burnt down the entire apartment complex.
Did he not ventilate it?
No, he didn't.
Oh my god.
The thing caught on fire, and then he had to just fan. He didn't have any fireproof shit, so he had to just fan the flames until they died. Which fanning the flames usually doesn't work.
No.
Yeah. He also
then-
had a bowl, and he had to go run to the sink, put a bunch of water in the bowl, run over, splash it, run back, and he did that 10 times until the fire was
Cody,
dead.
your brother needs help.
He did not
Seriously.
deserve
That's
that
the
computer.
first. Yeah, that's when you say it. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, we've been
And
saying
then
it for years,
over the
Cody.
charred remains of the computer, we all look over it. We can build it stronger, better,
That's a cheat.
faster, stronger, and then we've got cyber computer.
It's always a what
Half
movie was
computer,
that?
half robot.
What?
$50 Million Man.
That's what it was. Yeah.
It's a TV
Yeah.
show, actually.
Yeah, I was thinking RoboCop for some reason, but then I was like,
Nope.
that's not RoboCop.
Clearly, the best show to come out of the 80s. Clearly.
Clearly. I actually just saw Blade Runner for the first time.
The original one or the new one?
The new one comes out next week.
I thought it was already out.
No, we gotta go see that.
Oh, yeah, I'll go see it.
but,
We just saw Kingsman last night.
We did see Kingsman last night. Let's talk about Kingsman. Did you guys see Kingsman?
Lovely.
Nope.
Nope.
What?
Dudes.
Why?
My dudes.
Yo, if we're gonna be expected to watch media, you got to tell us a little bit beforehand so we can do our homework.
Oh, well, okay. I'm sorry. I thought Kingsman.
I haven't even seen the first one, so.
What?
Oh, you know what?
I mean,
That's
like,
actually
what-
a good idea, Tristan. We do need to have a mandatory media thing that we all watch something and we talk about it at the end of the week. Be like,
So, homework.
don't think of it like homework. Think of it
Well,
like
it's during the school semester. It's homework because we have to do it at home.
it's technically not during the school semester for both of us. so-
I don't go to school, so.
And I'm taking a break for the channel, so
Yeah, but we'd be the ones who would have to go out and see the movie.
it doesn't have to
They
be.
have a point.
Yeah, true. I'm trying to think that there aren't many TV shows. Okay, you know what? Fine, ditch that idea. Screw it. You guys are no fun.
No, I don't mind doing it.
If you see Blade Runner, okay, have you guys actually seen Blade Runner?
Nope.
Yes.
Oh, we're halfway there.
And Tiger Star, do you live? Have you lived?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
Emperor
do.
Tiger Star, have you seen movies?
Yes.
I don't even know why I'm acting superior. I just saw it on Thursday, so
I mean, I've seen it years and years ago. I'm sure I don't remember most of the things that happened in it.
it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's my
Everybody-
status. I think I saw it 3 years ago, and I think that I was a tad under the influence at the time, so I don't remember very much.
Yeah, the aesthetic. I like the aesthetic.
Yeah, it was a good movie for that.
Yeah, it was kind of like my 1984 video, but I never actually saw Blade Runner before. So when I saw it, I thought, "Whoa, that's
So
like
put things in perspective.
yeah, it's like a weird." You'd like it, Tiger Star, because it's kind of like an '80s futurism thing.
I mean, I have a giant list of things that I have to see, so I'll add it to the list, but it'll take a while to get to that part of the list. Like,
What's on
never underestimate what I have and haven't seen.
Now serving Iron Man 1.
We actually talked about that yesterday.
I've seen
last
that.
time. Last time we talked about Iron Man if it was grimdark, and yeah, well, our idea was I don't even know why we came about it. It was the kid from Stranger Things. We joked that he was actually
We
stuck
brought up the cliche of like preview music, how it takes like a classic 80s song, just slows it down and plays it on a dark piano.
Yeah, but then we were talking about. It led us to talk about the kid from Stranger Things, who's in the new It movie, and how we said that he only stars in '80s stuff. And so I joked that since that's like 30 years from now, technically he should have went through the entire thing of being a child star and growing up until today, and so he should be like 40 years old by now. And then Tristan was saying that he probably Robert Downey Jr. and went through like this whole drug. Actually, you know what? It sounds a lot more messed up when I explain.
Yeah, now
it
that
to
you're
somebody.
explaining it, I'm really questioning this whole line of thinking.
But the point of it, what led to that, was we were talking about a grimdark Iron Man, which would also be like 40K-ish for some
so
reason.
what? Just a assault marine flying around blasting anybody he saw as a threat to humanity?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, there's actually a really great. I don't know if it was a fan comic or if it was a legit comic because I've been looking for it. I couldn't find it. I just saw pictures from it, and what it was a bunch of factory workers for Stark Tech, or what's this company? Stark Industries.
Stark
That's it.
Industries.
Yeah, so a bunch of like factory line workers get laid off because he basically is like streamlining production and, you know, the typical reasons why people screw over the poor. But then a bunch of like blue collar Joes get together with the technology that they worked on and build Scrap Iron Man, which is like the working people's like Iron Man for the people, who's dedicated to taking down Tony Stark.
Isn't that the plot of Spider-Man: Homecoming?
Or so they just build the Steel Legion?
Kinda.
No, like, well, because Vulture.
I didn't see Spider-Man, so
Oh, you haven't seen
I
Spider-Man?
haven't seen it yet, no.
Oh.
I'm not a fan of Spider-Man, so I'll get around to it eventually.
Okay, have you guys seen Spider-Man?
Yes.
I'm gonna watch it when it comes out on DVD, which is soon.
Okay, well, anyway, this isn't. It's kind of a spoiler, but not really. Vulture does that. Vulture is kind of the blue collar worker who gets screwed over literally by Tony Stark, and so his like suit that he builds is like to go after the capitalist big shots.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I
So
get it.
Yeah, he's literally the blue collar version of Green Goblin,
I love
except
it.
they did him way better.
Oh yeah, they done him way better. He's my favorite.
He wasn't
Spider-Man
like
villain.
cartoony, just evil for the sake of being evil. He actually had a reason why he was doing stuff.
Oh come on, you
Yeah.
don't like the "I'll get you, Spider-Man."
No, Cody, no.
I could
No more of
squash
that.
you like
my
a
favorite.
bug right now.
You don't like William Dafoe's scary ass face,
I don't like William Dafoe, period, so...
but he,
Oh man. It makes me think a lot about like how, so it's played by friggin' Val Kilmer,
yeah.
and how the last big movie that Val Kilmer did was a movie where he was parodying his time playing Batman as like this guy named Birdman, and then he does this whole movie about how like playing a superhero like destroys your acting career, and then he comes back as like the most literal Birdman you can possibly be.
Oh boy.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, enough about superhero stuff. Let's talk about ourselves because we're narcissists. How was everyone's videos this week? What did you make?
Tyler shrinks
my-
in the corner.
Like
Yeah, pleb.
my video was over the Sonderbund War, which is basically the Civil War of Switzerland, or the second one at least, because they had two. And this war was the very last war Switzerland ever fought, all the way back in 1847. And ever since then, they've never fought again.
You know what? Technically, we're only 10 years off that record in America.
Are we really?
Well, 1847 last time they ever fought a civil war, and then ours was 1865.
Oh, yeah,
so.
good point.
No, but I'm talking about any
Oh,
war.
any war. Oh.
Yeah,
Wow,
because
they
that
haven't
was
done
that was the
anything.
last war Switzerland ever did. Period. Because they were neutral during World War One
Yeah.
and World War II. They didn't do anything during the Cold War. They're not even a part of the EU. They're just there.
We need to change that.
No, they need to stay
Nah.
independent.
No, I don't think you guys
We need to break the
realize
record.
how impenetrable Switzerland is. Like, I kid you not, they literally have, like, the president of Switzerland literally has a button in his office. Well, I don't know if it's in his office, but a button in his possession that will blow up all of the highways leading into the country and blow up several mountains to ensure that no one can properly invade Switzerland.
Yeah, Switzerland's hardcore.
Right.
And
then
they
the only
also
way to
have
invade
whole
Switzerland is an air war.
mountains hollowed out.
Yeah, the
But-
Swiss also have mandatory not just gun control, but mandatory gun ownership and training, and so every
Yeah.
household has to have a gun.
But
Right.
all the ammunition is in stockpiles. So
Well,
technically,
That's still like
Basically, everyone is a trained soldier.
Yeah.
I think they still even have to do 3 years in the military besides owning a gun anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
They basically just have an entire population dedicated to the militia because if you blow those bridges and those tunnels and those roads, it's an air war.
Yeah.
And if everything's just pointing up, you can't shoot whatever's. You can't really do that. It's not worth it.
but let's
Yeah.
let's
And
think,
all, and but also 1914, when World War One was breaking out, the Kaiser kind of threatened Switzerland and said, "Well, hey, how would you feel if Germany decided to invade your country?" And the Swiss president responded, "We'd shoot twice, then go home," because everyone had a gun. So they would literally just shoot twice to kill the entire German army.
But think about this. Think about if the U.S. went to war with Switzerland. Literally nobody else even defended Switzerland at all. I guarantee the U.S. would still win, because even though we would actually have to like invade, all we would have to do is just use an air war.
Well, here's my counter argument to that, Cody. Because I think you're missing a key point of this. Most of our air defense systems, and even the world's, they were mostly designed in Switzerland. That same technology comes from the Swiss. So they know if they have mastered the game of the air war, because they know that in the event of an invasion, that's how it's going to play out for them. So they know
Also-
very well that that's their sole line of defense. They have that locked down like no tomorrow.
I didn't know
Also,
that. All
I
of it's
mean,
made in
they're
The
mountains.
majority of the technology, yes.
Wow. So we're
It's
technically
actually
Like,
a lot
they're
of
mountains.
Europe and all that and all, yeah.
There's nothing to bomb besides mountains. Yes, there's a few cities, but they've hollowed out whole mountains so they can evacuate their populace and army to if necessary.
Right, they're built for a siege. They can withstand an air war that even we could put up.
Well, forget
So
that then. No more. I call the war against Switzerland off.
It'd
You
be
just
a
saved
pointless
million-
war. You wouldn't get anything out of it. It'd be the world's biggest pissing match.
Yeah, it would be a pissing match.
Yep.
It'd be like Stalingrad. Well,
It'd be just all for pride.
Yeah, it'd just be.
Yep. But
you're gonna have to find another way to get that Nazi gold.
Just crack
basically
open them
before-
laundry machines. Let's get that money.
Bringing
before
Kingsman, which you
Switzerland
would
was
get
how
if you
it
watched
was
it.
today. Like before, how Switzerland is today, it was originally a confederation. Like their equivalent of provinces are called cantons, and it's literally just a village in the mountains. That's kind of its own government type thing. And there were like I think 22 of those that kind of agreed to protect each other as a confederation, and they called it Switzerland.
Yeah.
Well, Napoleon came along and conquered Switzerland and installed a puppet republic. And obviously Napoleon got overthrown and stuff, but now you had a lot of the Swiss population who liked the idea of a republic of the Swiss cantons versus the other cantons who just, we want to do our own thing. And so when they were thinking about federalizing as a country, all of the conservative Catholic cantons said no thanks, and so they decided to form their own alliance called the Sonderbund. And so the Swiss government is just like no, and they had a civil war, and it only lasted a month, and now Switzerland's a republic.
Yeah, they told them they can't do that.
Yeah. And the hilarious part is that there were several cantons that were neutral. So even during their own civil war, there were parts of Switzerland that were still neutral.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yes. And perhaps the most baffling part is the two Swiss civil wars they had, this one and the one that was like right after Napoleon took over.
Mm-hmm.
So in the war where Napoleon took over, they're fighting against a unified republic, and that team fighting against a unified republic were called the Federalists, which makes no sense. In this war, when they're fighting for a federalized republic, they're called the Confederates.
Oh.
I don't know why, but that's what they called themselves.
This hurts me.
You know what? I'm glad
It
Switzerland
does.
hasn't fought a war. They suck at it. They're confusing at names.
They're probably not good on the offense, but by goddamn it, they are good on the defense.
Yeah. Bunker down. But
I respect that. As Cody knows, the trope with me is you just in all the games we play and all the scenarios and everything we've done, I'm the one that always just likes to sit in a hole and make the hole as impenetrable as possible.
yeah, this is the funny thing. Whenever we do like strategy games like Ruse, it's always 3 people playing. It's always me, you, and Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
And then we always never go after Caleb first.
It's usually me and Cody just get stuck, locked in eternal war. The best example I can give, you were, I think, the British and I was the Soviets.
Yep.
And Caleb was always the Germans.
Mm-hmm.
We ground our militaries and our economies down to nothing, to where it took us 10 minutes to build like a light tank. And then we'd send that tank forward, and what was left of our defensive line was just annihilate it. And it was just purely out of spite when that was happening.
We had great militaries too. Like
We
had
just ground
bombers
them
and
into dust.
And then eventually we just became like third world nations sending infantry out to die. And
then here comes Caleb with like 320 King Tigers.
yeah, that was a lesson learned that day.
To never fight each other, always fight Caleb.
And we still never learned that lesson
No,
either
we
because
still,
we do
we
Age
still
of
have
Empires.
yet to learn that lesson.
Because we did Age of Empires, and then you would play the Mongols,
Yeah.
I had to build.
Well, it was the Sioux Indians. That's what it was.
Oh, it was.
I couldn't build defenses, so I was solely relying on you guys to defend me.
Oh yeah, and you're trying to be like the Dothraki.
Right, for the Game of Thrones
And
scenario.
I built a giant wall across half of the map. It was just to keep you out. But then I had the big wall, and I had a smaller wall, so it was like bossing safe from Avatar. And it worked, because then you went after Riley then, and you killed him, and he was the Indians.
I burned all his expensive stuff, then went home.
He had this thing called the Temple of Peace in the center of the map, and that was the first target for Tyler's aggressive campaign. It did not last long.
It was burned in 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, Riley's usually the
R.I.P. Temple of Peace.
No
Yeah.
peace in my domain. That doesn't exist.
I just stayed back. Like, Riley wanted help, and I thought, no, screw that. I'm just going to stay back with my massive cannons. 'Cause I
Meanwhile,
was the
Caleb
Ottoman.
is funding me secretly.
Oh, wait, he was?
Yo, you never found out about that?
No!
Oh, he was funneling like all this food into my country to keep me attacking everybody else.
He was like my ally.
He was buying me off.
Oh God,
Oh.
we've exposed
Oh,
treachery
no.
on the air. This is what this
Basically,
podcast
for those of you that get the
sells.
reference, I was a Dothraki, Caleb was a Lannisters, or no, you were the Lannisters, he was the Starks, and Riley was, I believe, Dorne. So basically the Starks were
yeah.
paying off the Dothraki to just burn the Lannister countryside in the Dornish realms.
I feel like, on, like, thinking back to it, I feel like I would be more of, like, the Tyrells, because Highgarden.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and then Caleb would be the Lannisters paying everyone off.
Well, he was only paying me off. He was just being nice to you guys because
Yeah.
you were all on a team, and then he's just giving me all this food to just replace whatever I lost from you and Riley immediately.
You never actually went after me, though.
I blew up some of your walls, but that was all I ever did.
Oh.
I just tore down walls and just left.
Yeah, well, because as soon as you would go after them, then I would just go and have all of my workers, and I'd sacrifice them by the hundreds as you would go and kill them. Man, Age of Empires 4 is coming out now.
I am ready for that. I have been waiting for so long.
And Definitive Edition, too.
Yes.
So before that.
I saw that, yeah.
So we're gonna have...
I now have a new purpose.
I know,
My
right?
life is fulfilled.
Like, I still have, like, my old Age of Empires game. Like, I can't play it anymore because it's on one of those... it was back when all computer games came on CD-ROM discs.
Oh.
Back in the dark times.
Yeah.
I call those the Zoo Tycoon
Yeah.
2 days. 'Cause
Oh,
that's
but Zoo Tycoon.
That's the only time I could play a Zoo Tycoon 2
Yep.
put the disc in. Yeah.
Zoo Tycoon. Hell of a game.
Why did they not make a sequel to that? Oh, wait, they did make a sequel.
They did.
to
They
that.
made a
It was-
lot of sequels.
It was horrible, though. No, they only made Zoo Tycoon 2, and then they made
the one for the
new
Xbox One.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
There's also like probably like 10 Zoo Tycoon apps that suck.
That's true.
So there's like a bunch.
I guarantee they're all, like, pay to play.
Probably.
I saw a Jurassic World app when that was big, and it was like, build your own Jurassic World dinosaur park, and it was all pay to play, like, have a Triceratops for like $3. No, I'm not going to pay $3 for a Triceratops. Screw that.
Microtransactions, Cody, you have to support the developer.
No.
Yeah, if I have to pay $3, I better get an actual Triceratops.
Holy mother of...
That would
I'm
be
imagining
a pretty
it's
good
one of
deal.
those. I'm imagining it's one of those like tiny little dinosaur plushes that you put in like the bath and it grows.
Like this
And yeah, it's like a
The
sponge.
Triceratops is
And
the
that's how you-
second
and that's
worst
how you
thing to
grow
find in your
dinosaur.
house next to a horse.
Mm-hmm. That's how you get it. Wait, what's Caleb?
He's messaging us. He says he's listening.
Oh yeah. Oh
Don't discuss my.
no, we're
secret
going to
funding.
discuss your secret
Caleb,
funding.
your secrets are being revealed, buddy. I'm sorry.
The world's gonna know. Anyway, our friend Caleb is listening in.
And Riley as well, and Brittany is listening too. They're all listening back at the shared apartment.
No
So
pressure.
you have an audience. You have your local fan base is listening.
Is it weird that actually adds a little bit of pressure?
Don't feel pressure. I feel no pressure.
Dun 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 dun.
Tiger
Cody.
Star feels pressure.
Cody, I was a fan before you had fans.
Anyway, Tristan, what about your video? What'd you make this week?
I made a pretty fun video this week. So this one wrapped up my first season of Step Back, which was like my first batch of videos I made back in August. And it is about the Freemasons, like the actual history of the Freemasons, the boring and not anything to do with sacrificing babies or
that's
ruling
fun
the world
part.
with Freemason.
Oh.
Well, as far as you know. As far
Yeah, I
as
made
you
a lot
know.
of jokes about that.
That's man, my friend, I'm not gonna say who, but my brother's friend is actually in the Freemasons, and he was trying to get me and my brother to join.
I would join.
I
I have one of their swords. I think they'll take me.
when did you have one of those
I've
swords?
showed you this before. I bought it.
I don't remember like
It's
half
like
the
an
weapons
old
you showed me.
ceremonial sword. Yeah, I have it hanging above my bed.
I haven't been to the apartment forever. I don't
It wasn't
remember.
at the apartment. It was at my parents' house when I still lived there.
I haven't been to your parents' house in forever. I don't
well, I'll have
remember.
to
And
bring it over
now
sometime.
all of them are secretly planning to break in your
How
house
big
and take
was it?
that
How big
sword.
is it?
It's like that big.
Wow.
Like it's legit as far as I know.
Huh.
It's got their crest and emblems and everything all over it.
So anyway, Tristan, what'd you find out?
Basically, like, there's some really cool stuff, like all the stuff about secret handshakes and all the rituals and stuff come from the deep past, like the Middle Ages, when you had people, like, in the past, right, you know, everybody rode on, like, their local reputation for their jobs.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work when you're a construction worker, because construction workers go from place to place building, you know, castles and shit.
As construction
And so-
workers tend to do nowadays, yeah.
Castles.
Castles.
Yeah, so
Yes, yeah.
if
Mexican
you are a
workers.
professional, so if you're a professional castle builder or whatever, you have to go from town to town. So you're like a vagabond, a transient,
Mhm.
but you need to be able to vouch for, you know, this person knows what they're doing. This guy's part of, like, you know, the guild, which was like the old union.
Yeah.
And so they had things like secret handshakes and secret rituals so that two Masons who had never met each other before could, you know, at least know that they're in the same organization.
It's interesting.
And so then that just kind of created a kinship and a bond, which slowly.
Yeah, and
It
it
grew
kind of
from
like
there.
built up upon itself, and people who weren't construction workers wanted in, and eventually it turned into like Freemasonry, and like there's a bunch of amalgamations, and it's kind of built up ever since.
I mean, really, like all of the quote hidden Freemason stuff is just memes.
Yep.
Like
Oh, it's
that's
memes.
literally what it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you
So
said.
like, oh, you look over Washington D.C. and you can find the Freemason symbol on the city streets. What a conspiracy! No, it's just a meme.
I'm just imagining, what if like all of the information on the internet just was wiped out and we're only left with like a few remnants of stuff, but the people that know about the internet are like a part of the secret society. So it's like people that know like Pepe or
I
like
cannot
Moon
face
Man.
palm hard enough.
I know it'd be a horrible
This
existence,
is terrible.
but it'd be like that'd be the secret
Oh, God.
society. It's just people that know
Yes.
internet memes.
All of the people who have all of the books because the internet's destroyed, and all these people who are used to not having to use books are all
Mhm.
suddenly helpless, will form the Society of the Google or the Wikipedia or whatever.
I mean,
And
technically,
we'll-
since we're
Ask
YouTubers,
them
we're already in the society of the Google. We're already,
Yeah,
They already control our every lives.
I'm
so,
just a plebeian.
you're
I do a lot
outside,
of
you're free.
research working with Wikipedia, and the people who do Wikipedia are so hardcore sometimes that I could imagine that without the internet, they would actually like start their own little like information cult and like maybe like the Maesters or something.
Oh, they would definitely be the Maesters. If everyone in like on the internet, if every website was their own like house of Game of Thrones, they would be Old Town. Wikipedia would so be Old Town.
They just hoard all the knowledge.
Yeah.
And never do anything with it.
I think
Ever.
4chan would be like the Dothraki or
Boltons.
Oh yeah, 4chan's the Boltons.
Boltons.
Paul is the Boltons.
Yes.
And then like Google is like the Lannisters.
Yeah.
They're kind of like just paying everyone. And then
Except they're actually rich, not just pretending.
yeah,
to be
they're
rich.
actually rich. The gold mines are still going.
They're still plentiful.
Reddit.
Uber definitely has to be Cersei then, because Uber's like, you know, doing all the crazy transgressive shit to like,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
So would Lyft be
and Nick Klemper pow. Jon Snow's Lyft.
Jon Snow is
Jon
lit.
Snow's Lyft?
Jeez.
Jon
He's
Snow-
even got a mustache.
Oh, true.
It's true, yes.
But then like Reddit, I think Reddit would be like
Starks-ish.
no, they wouldn't be Stark. No, they'd be Dorne, because they would think that they're better than they really are,
Oh,
and they're like
yeah.
super unimportant. Then
Yeah,
I'm talking about in the show, not the books.
Yeah,
but in the show, they
I have
think
not read any of the books.
Yeah.
I would like to, but I just haven't.
if we're going strictly by how they're interpreted in the books, Reddit would be Dorne, because they would see themselves as super important, but nobody really cares about them or their opinions, and they just get walked over.
And every single tiny slight they take as like a huge thing, and they plan huge
Yeah.
like conspiracies to take over the world.
And whenever you focus on them, it's always the worst part of the season.
I suddenly like Dorne a lot more when they just overreact to things. I suddenly like that.
They're just Spain.
They're like my Legion, Cody.
Oh yeah, you're
My
losing.
Iron Warriors love to overreact to everything.
Oh yeah, Spain. That's a whole thing that's happening.
Oh,
right
the
now.
referendum?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm so confused.
Catalonia is a big deal.
I actually have I never researched into Catalonia, so
I know nothing about it.
Yeah, that's like the one thing that I know absolutely nothing about. I just see Catalonia and Spain, and they're like duking it out, and then some people are calling Catalonia communists, and then some people are calling Spain communists. It's like everyone's calling each other
This
communists.
just seems like a lot of mud.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well, I could tell you guys a little bit. I bet Tarkastar knows more though.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, the reason why it's so controversial. Okay, firstly, there is no Spaniard. Like, Spain was the unification of so many different Iberian countries.
Yeah.
That a lot of those, like, local cultures remain. So the Aragonians, the Catalonians, the Castilians, the Andalusians, the Galicians, the Basque,
Mhm.
those are all like different groups. And even so, kind of like in France and in Italy, and if you want to count accents, kind of like in the United States,
Mhm.
even though they in theory speak Spanish, they're still very different. And so obviously every once in a while you're going to have that separatist tension. And Catalonia has probably been the most different, the Catalonians and the Basque, which is why they've been revolting more. And the complications about this referendum is like, I would actually say it's kind of similar to our Civil War. The Spanish Constitution says you cannot secede, but they're trying to secede anyway. So that's why Spain is forcibly disbanding the referendum, because it's technically constitutionally illegal.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you want Catalonian independence, what are you going to do?
There's
Yeah,
a few other
like-
things to add to that as well that I should mention, is that Catalonia largely was on the Republican side of the Spanish Civil War in the 30s.
Yes.
So they opposed Franco in a huge way.
Mm.
The second thing you should say is that Spain in the last like 6 years or so has been going through some huge economic problems, like
Oh, yeah.
almost like 20% unemployment, like really, really bad stuff.
Mm.
And Catalonia, because of its because it has Valencia, is actually like one of the small economically successful parts of Spain at the moment. And so Catalonia also is like a richer part of Spain than the rest of Spain. And so
Mhm.
a lot of them are like, let's get out because, you know, we got more stuff than the other thing. It's like kind of what happened in Sudan as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I saw a thing, I think it was 25% of the GDP of Spain is from Catalonia.
So that would just
saw-
cripple them.
I
if they
think
left.
I think I saw a statistic like that, but I'm not sure.
Wow.
But yeah, so like Spain has a very, very good reason to want to keep them.
Yeah, if they lost 25% just off the top, that'd be crippling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Catalonia has Barcelona, not Valencia. I
Okay.
mix those two up.
But yeah, I actually saw a video of like the boomer generation, because I know that there's still a lot of Franco sympathies, because Spain, got rid of Franco, because Franco died in the 70s. So Spain had fascism for like 30 years after everyone else did. And so a lot of the people
killed by disco.
Yeah, it got killed by disco.
My God.
See, it wasn't the Russians or the Americans that finally killed fascism.
It was
disco.
Franco just tried to boogie to the music, but he was so old his heart literally couldn't take it, and he just collapsed.
That's what's going to be my mind lore. That's what I'm going to imagine happened.
His last words were "I caramba."
Did you say Cody? Did you say Cody's mind blowers?
Yes.
Oh my God, man! It's not a time for Rick. Rick and Morty's already so unpopular on the internet as it is right now. But anyway, yeah. So since Franco is already remembered by a lot of the older generation, a lot of people are actually still sympathizing with him. So I saw a video of a bunch of old people doing practically. I mean, it's the Roman salute, but it's basically like the, kind of the associated fascist salute. And it was weird. It was a weird thing to see.
You also had it was a thing that was always in the back. There's like nostalgia, but also there's like this whole thing going on where everyone's like, hey, it's been 70 years. Let's just give fascism a try again.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't know. It's like now, let's do communism. Let's do fascism. It's all fun. Let's completely forget about the regular governments we have, because apparently those don't work.
And the fact that they triumphed over all of those governments varying years ago for numbers of reasons.
Anarchism.
This is why we should focus more on history in school instead of just math and science.
Yes, please.
But no, you don't need to learn history, math, science. You need to work, math, science.
All the STEM stuff.
Well, this is why I started Step Back, is because Step Back was like, I realized that there was like no historical literacy amongst most people.
Yeah.
And you know what? When it comes between understanding a general idea of the past and, differential equations, what percentage of people are going to be better off with one or the other?
Because the fact that there's the rise of like the far left and the far right now, is it any coincidence that we're also in the same time period where the last of the World War II veterans are dying off? I mean, there's a reason why it's coming back. It's because the collective memory of our country, remembering why such extreme ideologies were bad, has gone away. So there's no one to tell the current generation of people, hey, dum-dum, that's a stupid idea. I lived through it. I walked to school 20 miles in the snow, forwards and backwards.
I feel like a lot of it is also a coincidence, too, because we've had the worst recession since the Great Depression. So it's only natural that after we have such a horrible economic
recovery,
that there's going to be pretty much the same thing that we would see in the 30s, because we're kind of living through the 30s.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
And just like how the Great Recession is like 1/3 of what the Great Depression was, the modern Nazis are about 1/3 of the original Nazis. Yeah. Instead of being legitimate scary people, they're just scary people living in their mother's basement.
I mean, we kind of had this discussion last week how nobody's really living through that huge of a struggle right now. Like we're not living through a war-torn nation. It's not like we just fought World War I.
Like, we're not in a mass depression. We're not having people starving. We're not having, like, I don't know what the height of the Great Depression was, but, like, let's just say 30% unemployment across the board. Like, no, we're just kind of uncomfortable right now. So everybody's just
Europe,
kind of venting.
In Europe, there is a bit of a economic depression. But here in America, we never had that. So we kind of have people just LARPing and
we're basically just uncomfortable and unhappy, so there's just a lot of people venting right now. It hasn't got to the full-on, like, marching in the streets for rallies yet. It's basically just people being dicks collectively.
The only thing I could say to that, though, is that we're kind of hitting a new precipice about this whole thing, because the last depression was, and this recession to a point, are results of the fact that that's how capitalism works. It has boom and bust cycles. The rich never seem to actually suffer from that, but that's different topic for a different time. You have right now this issue where there's not less and less work, and people are competing more and more for less and less jobs, and this is not something that in the foreseeable future is ever going to bounce back. Like, even if we have recovered from that recession and the jobs still didn't come back because everything has either been outsourced or automated, and that doesn't look like it's going to change. And over in the near future, we're going to see a lot of jobs disappear and none really get made, and we don't have a good solution to that yet.
Yeah, automation.
Automation's going to kill everything.
Oh yeah, like even
so a lot of. But yeah, while we keep having this problem and we keep not doing anything about it, people are going to suffer, and when people suffer, people go to the radical extremes.
I mean, this is something we're gonna see worse in 30 years, when definitely people are gonna be out on the streets because you're gonna have legitimate robots just completely take their jobs. Like, yeah, we have it now, but it's going to be to such a wider extent, and
it's always exponential. Like, you look at the top 10 jobs with like the most positions, and you have things like taxi drivers. Okay, that's going to be replaced by driverless cars. Fast food cashiers, well, those are going to be replaced. Other cashiers, those are going to be replaced.
Even large-scale jobs, like stuff in information. Since we're an information-based society, a lot of people doing white-collar jobs will be replaced by pretty much fancy calculators.
That's my job to a T. I'm pretty much everything I do at my job in my real life, everything I do can be easily replaced by a machine. And I'm already starting to see that now with the other companies we compete against.
Yeah, so it's not even like
and
a
the
machine
ones that and the jobs that do remain also will have a lot of their stuff taken out. Like, I did a presentation on this back in May. That's why I'm hogging the mic so much.
Yeah.
But back in May, I did talk about this and how it's kind of the death knell of capitalism in a lot of ways, because even jobs that will exist in the near-term future, which might disappear in the long-term future, are still going to lose a lot of their work. Like lawyers, like a lot of the lawyer work that they do is like paperwork, discovery, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That will be disappearing because a lot of like the sifting through documents and emails looking for discrepancies and stuff, a machine can do way better.
Yeah, and the scary thing about it is we like to imagine, a lot of people imagine automation as those giant robot arms that are like building the cars and stuff and thinking, oh, that's not going to take my job. No, that's not the stuff that's doing it. It's programs, it's algorithms, it's stuff that is trained to act like a human brain, and it can do it a lot better. That's the stuff that will eventually take people's jobs in the information sector. And that's the scary part, is that a lot of people that did go to college and need these jobs will then find themselves completely obsolete because a machine can do it 10 times better. And that's the bad thing, is you'll have a whole millions of people who will just kind of be useless, like the horse. I think CGP Grey had his video, which was saying, like, what happened to the horse when the car came? Well, they still are around. There's not as many of them, and they're just kind of there. And humans
just hanging out of that guy's plate.
Yeah, and many humans will slowly start to become like that as machines just start doing. And this is something that is not even comparable to the Industrial Revolution. How people went from the farm jobs to the industrial jobs. The jobs were still there. For this,
just the methods changed. With this, it's just the jobs are going away.
The jobs are just gone.
And you got to look at the possible outcomes. There's 3 possible outcomes. Outcome number 1, businesses decide to band together and forsake efficiency in the name of humanity, which I don't see that coming. No, because that's not going to happen, because they're going to want to compete with each other too much. So even if kind of like, the whole buy things that are only made in America. Yeah, you're going to have some companies that are going to be like, oh yeah, we only do things made by humans. Yeah. But I mean, the majority of businesses are going to be like, no, we want our money.
Not make money for the sake of better for people.
Yep.
That doesn't sound like a company.
Option number 2 is they decide to make money an obsolete feature, which is also laughably untrue, because we love feeling like that pieces of paper are actually worth stuff. So they're not gonna stop money.
Or Bitcoin.
Or the third option, which is the only one left, would be to just give everyone a salary for existing, so that way they can keep buying stuff. Yep.
What?
Because that would be the only way they could buy stuff, unless they're going to give away everything for free. But then there'd be no point in money, and greedy people are still going to want to earn slips of paper. So they're just going to inevitably just give people more money to spend forever, and that's like the only thing that can keep the economy going.
There is a
Or I
fourth
guess
option.
option 4, apocalypse.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a fifth option though. You could have government intervention before we reach that.
They could put a limit on it, you're saying?
Like, for the sake of the economy, and this is very unlikely as it is, you could have the government crack down on automation as a threat to the economy.
Basically say, like, you can only have, like, let's say 40% of your jobs at max automated.
Yeah,
The other
but
60% has to
but
have
No, that can be a thing, because remember, we've done this before. The old automation was slavery until, well, obviously we fought over it, but then the government said no. And then the next automation, especially in Britain, was child labor until the government said no.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is actually a very possible option where something similar could happen.
So that could be the next crisis would be...
Yeah.
It would
I don't think that really tackles, though, how capitalism works. Because
it would be
companies
something that would...
They'll just find other countries that are not restricting automation, and the country that decides not to put a restriction on automation is going to become rich. Like, that's how capital works.
Yeah, but this is something that would be fundamentally against capitalism, basically. Like, this would be something that would have to restrict the rights of companies for the sake of the collective economy, because, I mean, you gotta think, this could even be something that could be turned into something good for capitalism, because these companies that produce these products, if they don't have Americans who have jobs and won't be able to buy stuff, then they won't make money.
Nothing.
Yeah, they won't make money.
The whole point of a company is to make goods and services that people want to either buy or pay for. If nobody has the money to pay for said goods or services, your entire business model is not functional.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, you say that, but capitalism's real purpose is just to make more capital. The only thing else is just kind of a side benefit.
I mean, this isn't something. This is something that is inherently going against capitalism.
Right.
That's
not
what
everything can be put overseas anyway.
Yes. So this is something that people will fight against. This isn't something everyone's going to argue for, but this is something that a lot of people are going to be like, we need to go against the companies because everybody's losing their jobs. This will be a... And yeah, you can say that, capitalists will just ignore it. Yeah, capitalists will ignore it, but that's where the debate comes in. That's where the fight comes in.
Yeah, and you can't put everything overseas anyway. So, like, let's pretend we make a law saying, like, 50% of your stuff has to be human workers. Well, what's the taxi company going to do? Put all their taxis in China? People still need taxis in America, and the taxis actually have to be here.
Yeah, or McDonald's. Or, I mean... Yeah,
it's like fast food. Unless they figure out a way to cook everything in China and send it to our house in like half a second, then there's absolutely no way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Put a drone with a scramjet on it. Solved.
Yeah. So really, right now, there are legal precedents that we can have that will, yes, go against the capitalist nature of the country, but it will also go for the betterment of the entire country because people will have jobs. So... who knows? It's an interesting debate that a lot of people will probably fight about in 10, 15 years.
We will.
Unfortunately,
we
could do a lot to address this if we just had a plan. But it seems like we're very dedicated to not having a plan and just letting the worst things happen.
Oh, I know. That's why.
What are those?
That's why this is the fifth option, and it's very unlikely. But let's hope that somebody's at least smart enough.
I'd like to throw my hat into the ring for option 4.
Yeah,
press 4, please.
Just press the button.
What's the one that gets me? What's the one that gets me like Star Trek, like post scarcity future? Let's take that.
Let's just go with like a Fallout future.
Ooh, I like that.
Speaking of
play the old-time music
apocalypse, how about your video, Cody?
Oh boy, I had one actually, yeah, because I was thinking technically I had 2 this week. But I already covered the California video last week. This video was about the Berlin blockade and if it escalated into World War III. And the funny thing about that was there was really no reason for it to escalate into World War III, so I kind of had to just be like, oh, well, what if it was just going to escalate anyway? Everybody was just stupid and thought, oh, let's just go and we want to fight. Because this was for a sponsor thing with World of Tanks, and in their thing, yeah, fan of World of Tanks.
I'm the veteran of World of Tanks of the group. I've been playing. I'm like the hipster. I've been doing it before it was cool.
Yeah, so it was actually really fun that they contacted me and they're like, hey, do you want to do a promotion? And I was like, definitely. But yeah, in their thing, for some reason, the Soviets and Americans square off during the Berlin blockade, which was when the Soviets were pissed about Western Germany uniting into a single country, and so they blocked off West Berlin, saying this can't have the Deutschmark, which was going to be the new currency. We aren't going to allow this. And the Americans then created the Berlin Airlift, which was when they just took a bunch of bombers or cargo planes, and they gave all the Germans a bunch of food and
care packages, essentially.
Yeah, care packages, and circumvented the entire thing. So in this timeline, in this alternate timeline, they go with this general's plan, which was to show up the Soviets and show that the Americans weren't going to be pushed around, and they would take a bunch of tanks, an entire tank division, and roll through Eastern Germany and park right next to Berlin and basically be like, you gotta get rid of this blockade or like shit's gonna go down. Obviously the United States said no, we're not going to do that. But in this alternate timeline, they actually do that for some reason, and it's kind of a tinder fire, and one shot goes out and a skirmish happens, and next thing you know, World War III. So yeah, in this video, it kind of follows the same path as my operation. What was the operation where they invade the Soviet Union? Operation Unthinkable.
Yes,
Unthinkable. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty much like Operation Unthinkable, because it was around the same time period where the United States would just use their overwhelming nuclear power to wipe out the Soviet Union from existence. And
I do have to say, I do have a couple questions about that. Like, I had two thoughts that came up when this video came up, and one of them was, with the United States, like you kind of mentioned that they would like carpet nuclear bomb like the USSR in submission. And I was just like,
it wouldn't be that.
The US would they have that many bombs at that point? Like, that's like a logistical nightmare.
This is more of, I couldn't really explain it in the video because it would have taken too long, but this would probably be a more drawn-out process. It wouldn't be an instantaneous war. It'd probably be whenever the U.S. would produce a bomb, they would go fly over a Soviet city, and then if they didn't get shot down, they'd drop the bomb and it would explode. So really, instead of them harvesting all of these bombs in their nuclear arsenal, they would just, throughout the war, produce a bomb, nuke a city, produce a bomb, nuke a city. And so this could be a thing that you would see over years. And so maybe after 4 years, you'd see then 200 Soviet cities nuked.
What year was this in, Cody? I have the
40,
actual stockpile.
49.
So they would have roughly around 250 nukes in the stockpile on our side.
Oh, yeah. So
really?
Yeah.
Okay, so they won't even have to make the nukes. They would just have to...
Yeah, here it is, actually. 1950, they had 299. In 1945, they had 2. So I'm just guessing ballpark they have 250.
So they could...
Man,
so they would basically go
they really
around...
got busy.
That's a lot more than I thought we would have had. Especially going in 5 years, we made 297 of them.
The Soviet Union had 5 in 1950, just to show.
Which at that time,
and
I
they
don't believe
didn't
had
even
any.
get the bomb until 49.
Yeah. And if the U.S. had superior anti-air,
which we did,
we would definitely have the advantage, and we would just see nukes as bigger bombs and casually just bomb Moscow or bomb St. Petersburg.
It would basically be just find a Soviet military installation, hit it, because fighting in mainland Europe would just not be an option because of their just supreme numerical superiority. They would outnumber us 10-1, but we can just drop a nuke and incinerate an army at a time. They're going to run out of people eventually.
Yeah, you destroy their entire supply line.
And especially if we can just... Air dominance is key in any modern war. That was proven multiple times during the First and Second World War. Whoever controlled the sky will eventually control the ground. It's just a matter of time.
And we supplied the Soviet Union during the war.
Right.
So...
Yeah, you're welcome for that one.
Yeah.
Unless you're North Vietnam.
yes, then somehow that doesn't mean anything.
They defy all logic.
There's no that whole conflict makes no sense how that whole thing played out.
Yeah, never mess with Vietnamese farmers.
You'll never expect the tunnels. God, the tunnels.
But yeah, so this war would be really as fast as they could have bombing runs, and I'm imagining a bunch of Dresdens. That's what I would imagine this conflict.
Just
would be.
annihilate a city in one night and then just move on to the next.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that would pretty much be.
It'd be really messed up because I wanted to have a video after it, but I thought I'd just talk about it in the scenario. An aftermath of this war would be so messed up.
The Soviet people would be crippled as a culture and as a people. They wouldn't.
Russia
they couldn't rebuild. There just wouldn't be a way to rebuild at that point. All their cities would be.
If I could propose something in that scenario, in the aftermath.
Yeah.
Now, you'll think this is crazy, and I know this goes against alternate history hub policy, but a lot of what the United States defined itself as in the latter half of the 20th century, it was in opposition to everything the Soviets stood for.
Yeah.
So without the Soviets as the anti-example of what to do, you might find a United States that becomes less democratic because they don't have to show how open and democratic they can be, and also maybe a little bit more socialist economically, not full-on communism, but not that, don't have that 1970s and 80s dismantling of all the things that FDR put in place.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's actually a real good point, because if you think about it, the Cold War technically would have only lasted 5 years.
Which it would have been just a blip on everybody's radar. It would have been a mild inconvenience and then done.
Well,
I mean, this would all depend on China, because if we're focusing all of our things in the Soviet Union in 1949, which happens to be the same year the communists went in China, I mean, in theory, we could send troops over there, but I really don't think we would have had enough resources to fight both at the same time.
I think
honestly, I think South Korea probably would have been invaded and they would have been taken over. We wouldn't have bothered with them.
See, I have a different thought. I think
not Korea, not Korea, China.
Oh. Wait, what were you saying?
I think it would be basically a turning point for communists in China to look at this is what happened to the Soviet Union over a small blockade. Do we really want to go step on the sleeping giant of the United States when they just did this to the only other superpower in the world, knowing that they can't oppose us in any way?
Well, also, because MacArthur was already thinking about bombing China in the first place, and since we used the nukes so liberally,
just casually,
yeah, we wouldn't even think of it. Hiroshima would be a blip on the map.
It would just be another tool in the bag, essentially.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that China would start a war with us.
No, but they would be.
Presuming China still falls to communism because we're distracted by the Soviet Union, we could still use China as the anti-America, essentially.
Correct. I'm not saying they wouldn't fall. I'm just saying they would, if they wanted to do anything in response to us basically wiping out another Soviet nation, or another communist nation, they would not be able to. They just simply would have to make this revelation that they can't oppose us. They would be, I think they'd be afraid of us, more likely.
Well, they could also very easily
be afraid of us.
We just wiped out Russia, which no one had been able to do that ever.
I'd be afraid of us. I'd be
Napoleon couldn't do it.
They could also really easily push a Cold War with China because, even the Cold War in our OTL with the Soviets was, never a even fight. The Soviets were always a good chunk behind the United States when it came to military power, but they still were able to, culturally make a Cold War out of that to justify, overthrowing South American democratic governments to put in dictators and stuff. The reason why the Cold War happened. But, if you just say China are the bad ones, then you could do a lot of the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And China would get nukes in the 60s, the mid-60s. So we could only intimidate them for so long.
Yeah, so, I mean, once you kind of go after the Soviets, you can't go back. There is no fear of World War III anymore because World War III already happened. So what?
There's their number. There's our number.
Wow. So China only had 5 nukes in 1965.
Yeah.
Wow.
You want to guess what our number was?
31,139.
Oh,
absolutely correct.
You cheat.
We cheat too.
Hey,
yeah,
I was not aware.
Man,
I was not aware I was being tested. This is not cheating.
You
We
have
should
a
have done a
failing
Price is
grade.
Right, and the person who got the closest number without going over should have like gotten a prize.
31,140. Oh, I'm so sorry. You were literally 1 over the limit, so you get 0.
Do I get to spin the wheel?
No, you do not get to spin the wheel.
Oh.
Go home immediately.
But instead, you win a brand new car.
Da-da-da-da.
A Pontiac Transport.
Da-da-da-da. Oh. Anyway, I just slumped away.
There was a great podcast a long time ago where they would like every time like every once in a while they would be listing something and be like, and item 1 and item 2 and a new car, and then they actually had like the like music play and everything like that. It was a good job.
Oh my god, we need to do that. Except we don't win anything. We just win the admiration from people that will probably forget about it in 10 minutes.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, but anyway, that was the video that I had, and then I feel like in this alternate world, the U.S. would be seen probably as worse than Nazi Germany.
We'd be seen as the primary aggressors of the world.
Well, because, I mean, you would have Napoleon in the 19th century, you'd have Hitler in the 1940s, and then you'd have the United States in the 1950s. Because even though there was a Cold War and there was a potential fight, I mean, the U.S. did just annihilate, like, probably the Poles, the Russians,
Ukrainians, everything in the way.
They did what Hitler couldn't.
We would have done a genocide essentially.
Yeah, they did. They basically would.
The Slavic people just wouldn't exist as a thing.
Oh yeah, and the ramifications of that. I mean, you'd probably have people still existing. Like you'd probably have small bands, but it'd probably end up
it wouldn't
looking
be
like
an organized government. It wouldn't be anything recognized or
Yeah.
really even cared about, because why would you?
I could imagine almost like this area that's just complete lawlessness, like a super Somalia, and nobody even touches it.
It's just no one wants to go in there because no one wants to know what's in there. It's just don't talk about it.
Pretty much.
Plus, like at least with Japan, that was the first time we used the nukes, so we could legitimately say, well, we didn't know that the people would turn into irradiated monsters who are dying. I mean, but then with the Soviet Union, we know this, and we are launching potentially 50 to 250 nukes.
Yeah, it'd be our equivalent.
On top of
Holocaust.
that, too, I know this is not that Japan in the 40s, they were Asians, and the United States, the white world in general, was a little less, kind towards the rest of the world, concerned about those things. But if you did it to like Russian people and Polish people, those people who had been fighting on the Allies through all of World War II, you'd probably have a very different response.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, Western Europe would probably see the U.S., which would be using their countries as a base, as like an evil empire that would have conquered them.
They would have seen they just made a deal with the devil, and now they can't back out.
Yeah, pretty much. Because even though Stalin and stuff would be bad,
did it really justify the means of what just happened?
Yeah, after 10 years, everyone's memory of Stalin will kind of disappear because they're all dead.
That's just not a thing anymore. The Russian state and the Soviet states and the Baltic and whatever else would be on the Soviet Union, those just wouldn't exist.
Yeah, even what Hitler did would be completely kind of forgotten about.
It'd be overshadowed by what we did.
Yeah. It'd be like how Napoleon's aggression in Russia was overshadowed by Hitler. And then Hitler would be overshadowed by America.
Yep.
It reminds me of the first episode of the Hardcore History podcast where Dan Carlin essentially says that like he compares Alexander the Great and Hitler, and how Alexander the Great essentially, while it wasn't, an industrial holocaust, he still committed so many atrocities, many genocides, torture, and stuff like that. Yeah. But because he's so far back, and there's no one in living memory affected by him, there's no one who's like, goes like, oh, that butcher killed, 100 people of my extended family or something like that, or he conquered my country or anything like that. So he's seen in a neutral light. It's like, oh, cool. He conquered stuff and he killed a lot of people. What a badass. Okay. But so in a sense, even though Alexander the Great did arguably just as many atrocities as Hitler, just with less people, so he's arguably just as bad, but because he's so far back, we just go, oh, cool, that happened.
That's reminding me, there's this movie, and the name escapes me at the moment, but it was a movie where we destroyed ourselves in a nuclear apocalypse, but something about it was like a weird like 80s fantasy movie where like all of the magic came out of the world after we like blew ourselves up, but then some like evil wizard found like old tapes of the Nazi empire and like started like bringing back technology and like defining himself based on like Hitler, and started saying all these Hitlerian things because he didn't know what happened. He just kind of got it was old enough that he could be an Alexander the Great. Exactly.
I mean, Genghis Khan, you know, he was basically...
Oh, yeah.
We all know what he did.
Right.
But now he's almost like a meme at this point, and nobody really thinks about, oh, it's Genghis Khan, he's like super horrible. But back then, I mean, I guarantee if you would have talked to a Polish person or a European or a Chinese person, the Mongols would have been like the worst thing. I think, honestly, the Mongols were probably like the worst. I won't call them an empire, but they're almost like a force of nature.
You can't stop
them.
them.
Yeah.
There's no one that could oppose them.
Yeah.
Period.
It's almost
well,
like...
I mean, there was Egypt, and there was Japan, and there was the Sultanate of Delhi in India.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, obviously, you can stop them. But
I mean, they beat them in battle.
For everyone else, like, there's absolutely no stopping them. And, I mean, that's probably the most... If they're not influential in what they created, but they're influential in
what they did
and how many people they killed, and that certainly has a lot of butterfly effects that we can't even predict.
If you take him out of history, there's
yeah.
No
Sorry
way
to distract a little bit. The movie was called Wizards.
Wizards.
I've never heard of
Wizard
it.
came from the moon.
It's like a really weird 80s animated movie in the kind of likes of like heavy metal and stuff.
Wait, isn't there a Nintendo movie in the 80s called The Wizard?
I don't know.
Like, no, like the power glove?
Oh, Hacker Man, you mean?
No, it was called The Wizard, I think.
I don't know what this is.
It was like he had to play Super Mario Bros. 3 on his power glove, and it was called The Wizard, and it was the worst thing I've ever seen, because they were acting like...
Yeah, that's The Wizard.
Yeah, The Wizard. Yeah.
1989.
No, the movie I'm talking about is Wizards 1977.
Yeah, so there's a lot of movies about wizards. I don't know. That was the thing that came in my mind.
I'll toss it in the lounge for the Discord folks.
Shall we move on to Q&A?
Shall we? Yes, we may. Let me pull up Twitter. I just recently asked this. So let us see. Feel free to contribute.
Hi.
If you would like to send us your questions, please go to Cody's Twitter and just spam him.
Yeah,
shit.
send a tweet to @AltHistoryHub.
Yeah,
or AltHistHub. AltHistHub.
That's actually a good idea. Also, I think this is a good time to say that if you want to rewatch this live stream, I don't know why you ever would, but if you want to catch up, or if you ever miss one, we have a secondary channel called So That Happened for this that you can go, and the link to that is in the description. But first, there's a...
Yeah, you guys better produce some damn good questions.
I know, I'm looking
The
for...
questions last time I saw were pretty good.
Who was the worst president for their time period?
Oh, Lord.
Ooh.
I'm only saying this because I know one answer, and I think we all agree on the same answer.
I think I know.
James Buchanan.
James Buchanan, yeah. That's...
All right, well, okay.
Different.
Before we start, can we just say we can't say the one that's a president right now?
I don't
obviously.
even think he's... I don't think in terms of the presidents that we have had that he is that bad. I mean, if we're comparing him to like...
we can't even say anything until it's been like 20 years after he's stopped being president.
Once he's
Yeah.
out,
So really,
I think then we can
no
talk about it.
no one past the end of the Cold War is really valid for this discussion.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
I would feel like...
I mean, James Buchanan. I mean,
I feel like Buchanan, Polk... I feel personally, I don't like Polk.
no.
Because...
Well, I don't like him either, but Polk literally is the only president who's done everything he's promised.
He did. That's the weird thing, is he did everything that he promised, but it was such a messed up time period that the
So,
stuff
so
that
he was fine.
yeah, the stuff that he promised was just conquer half of Mexico.
Now you're saying like worst president or worst president for the period that they were president in.
Yeah.
For the time period that they're in.
So, like, the only other one besides Buchanan I can think of is maybe Franklin Pierce, or
Zachary
I mean,
Taylor.
like, you could argue like maybe Hoover, maybe,
I was gonna say Jimmy
or maybe
Carter.
not Hoover, Warren G. Harding.
Yeah, well,
Harding.
Hoover really shit
Yeah.
the bed when it came to the Depression. That's like
But it's like Hoover
I
at
feel like
least
Harding.
like
Yeah, I
tried,
agree with that
but
one.
Yeah, because his was he died, but he also had that whole teapot, the whole Ohio gang scandal, and yeah, I think it's Buchanan and then Harding, and then maybe like Tyler would be the next one.
Excuse you, sir.
You know what? I'm gonna throw one in that will be a little controversial, but I think will get an interesting conversation going.
What?
John Adams.
Ooh.
I see.
well,
I see.
Following up the first president with somebody in a time of like major changes and bold action by pulling a bunch of stupid anti-immigrant sentiment, a bunch of like really hackneyed policy, and then also kind of just being a power-hungry, boring president at a time when the United States is like just starting to try and take off.
You know
Yeah,
what? I feel
but,
like I have a better one. We completely forgot about him. Andrew Johnson.
oh my gosh,
yeah.
yes,
He's
Yeah.
a gimme though.
Johnson. Yeah.
Like
he
literally,
screwed up
his whole
the entire.
policy for his whole policy for Reconstruction was the Godfather solution. Oh, give the Godfather the kiss on the fist and say you're sorry, and then we'll leave you alone.
Yeah, he ruined the entire plan that Lincoln basically had, and not only that, I think he was almost impeached by one vote. That was it.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
had the whole. He was super corrupt.
I know he was corrupt. I didn't know about
Yeah.
the whole impeachment thing.
Oh yeah, he.
we should have had President Fremont.
We should have.
What's it called? They actually brought in like what's his name? Thaddeus Stevens, the like ancient firebrand Republican who had retired.
Mhm.
And he came in just so that he could yell at Andrew Johnson when they were going to impeach him.
Oh yeah, everyone hated Johnson. He never even should have been president. Yep. So
He
I
was
feel
kind
like
of president
that's a
by
good
accident.
thing.
Which,
Yeah,
which
Buchanan.
random thing. My favorite fact about the Lincoln assassination is they also tried to kill Andrew Johnson and William Seward, the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
Johnson just wasn't there, so they couldn't kill him. Seward was there and he was asleep, but he actually hurt his neck, so he was wearing a metal brace.
Mhm.
So when the guy went to stab him in the neck to kill him, he's like, fuck, why isn't this working? And so he goes, oh shit, someone's gonna catch me, and then he ran away. So Seward literally got saved just because he hurt his neck and was wearing a metal brace to bed.
Yeah, and Seward was
And we should-
was injured, but he was still alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should also toss Andrew Jackson into this because
I mean, okay, for the ramifications in like the moral human dignity sense, yes.
I mean, Cody
But-
the
knows
whole
my
like
stance
Trail
on
of
Andrew
Tears
Jackson.
thing.
But
Yeah,
in
but-
the stance of what he did for the United States at the time, I feel like he.
Plus, like that's looking at it at modern standards.
Yeah,
Like,
that's looking
yes,
at. Yeah, I feel
Well,
like he
like
was
Trail of
very
Tears-
popular then. He was.
Trail of Tears was horrible, but back then nobody would have cared besides the Native Americans themselves.
Yeah.
And he did remove the debt. He killed the bank, which was very impressive.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, he got stuff done, even if we didn't like the stuff he got done.
Yeah, if you just remove all morality from it, it's pretty.
It's how it should be, Cody.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
I killed the bank.
The banks.
Oh, I like this one. What are your favorite and least favorite flags? Also, are there any flags that stand out to you? And that is from Dragon's Thanos, who has a Spyro profile pic, which I like.
Love.
Are we just limiting this to flags of the world, or are we also including state flags?
I think we can include this to any flags.
I know my answer is favorite flag.
What?
Mozambique.
Those are, oh, the one with the AK.
The AK, the sickle, and the gear, I believe.
Man, that is such a.
The symbols of their
Cons.
revolution. I love it.
Yeah, that is actually. I mean, it's what red, black,
Red, black, and yellow, I believe.
Yeah, that is an awesome looking flag, to be honest. I'm a little biased. I would say probably my favorite flag is at least one of the Templar flags. Probably like the flag of Saint George, or the flag of one of the what was the black and white flag of the I
I don't remember what it's called.
They formed Prussia.
I can't remember.
The Teutonic Knights flag was one of my favorites. Yeah, so one of those. Also, I have a Union Cavalry flag, and that inspired the Ohio flag, which are also two of my favorite flags.
Represent Ohio.
How about you guys?
My favorite flag is probably the Nepal flag because it's like the one flag besides Ohio that is not just a boring rectangle or square.
Rar.
We're flag brothers.
Rar.
And even in the Nepalese constitution, there's actually instructions on how to make a proper Nepalese flag, like proportions and everything. So you could literally make your own true Nepalese flag at home anytime you want, which is pretty cool. My least favorite flags are perhaps the ugliest flags ever made in existence, and I'm saying them collectively because they're all bad. They're the Liberian county flags.
Damn, you took mine.
Oh, I was gonna say that.
The ones that are lifted from Hello Internet, yeah.
In case you need a refresher or none of you have ever seen them, I'm going to post a link in the lounge on the Discord, and then I'll post it in the chat and the YouTube video, assuming it'll slow down in time.
I can just send it to me. I can put in the description.
I've never heard of these flags. This is going to be a learning experience. For me.
Okay,
they're super ugly.
They are MS Paint.
All of these flags look like they were drawn on MS Paint, and it was really bad. And the worst part is, so flags will do the thing where they have like the country flag in the top left corner.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same size for all the flags.
What?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even fully in the corner. It's partially in the corner. Like,
What the?
Oh yeah, these are beautiful.
Put your attention to the best one of those, which is, I'm trying to find it here. It's the one where there's a hand holding something and it has a gradient. The flag has a gradient on it.
Oh, Lofa?
Oh no.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
My personal favorite is River G County. That's always, the trees just look majestic.
And the river coming out of the tree is magnificent.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yep.
It's like
Illuminati confirmed.
And then there's like Lofa County, which is like just a river. And then there's like, it almost looks like a weird bridge, but it's actually a hand holding a pole sticking out of the ground. Like,
oh boy.
It's like, what is that?
They had to have made this on like PowerPoint or something. Like the 2010 PowerPoint, because this looks exactly like something you would make on that.
This is like something we did in computer science lab.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if it's actually flying somewhere, or if like the reason why they're so bad is because no one really cares.
I mean, even if I don't know, maybe it's just me as a person, but even if it's a flag that nobody cares about, remember when we had the Waterville flag contest?
Yeah, you entered a submission into that, I believe.
Oh yeah, me and Caleb did.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
His was like an America one. It was like, it looked like the United States flag, but it had a bunch of stars or something. And I know he's probably gonna send us a message and say what it is.
I'm waiting for that now.
And yeah, and then I had one that looked like a medieval flag with a sword, and
Yours was like a sword and a triangle and a cross and all that.
It looked like a nation flag. And
that's where your trident came from, I believe, when we did the your country creation.
No, that wasn't where the trident came from.
That's not where the trident came from?
No.
I thought that's where the trident came from.
No, it was something else. Oh, and
yep, that 3, 2, 1, go.
Yep, and he did it. But yeah, that was. Have you guys ever had to design a flag?
Nope.
Like elementary school projects, yes, but other than that, no.
Oh, it's fun. It was in a junior year. We had to do that, and our old flag. I don't even remember our old flag. It had like a logo. It had one of the state seals on it, and they said that one of the rules for the entire thing was that you couldn't have any complex pictures, and you had to have simple shapes that represented the entire town. And so I was thinking, oh, well, if we need simple shapes. They'll just do a sword or something like that. I don't know why. Because it was for the Battle of Fallen Timbers, which, do you guys know the Battle of Fallen Timbers? No?
Nope.
Okay, it was basically just America killed some natives. That's it.
Mad Anthony.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, but that is where it's near where I live, and so Waterville kind of shaped its entire history off of that, and so the sword was representational of the battle. Well, turns out that the way that the person that won had the super complex art thing. That was basically just a picture of the clock tower.
Yep, so much for no complex pictures.
Yeah, it was some mentally handicapped girl, and it was kind of one of...
They took pity on her, I remember.
Yeah, so she kind of got it, and it's a good-looking flag.
No, I have no complaints about the flag, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a good town flag.
It's not my town.
It's better than my flag, to be honest.
I attempted to draw a flag and gave up after 2 seconds.
Yeah, so that's how she won. But anyway,
Damn.
I think one of my least favorite flags is, Tyler just showed me the San Francisco flag.
I'm in total agreement with you. It is bad.
Which they're redesigning, I think. The flag for Los Angeles is also horrible. Most of those Southern California flags are just bad.
The flag of Maryland.
Yeah, that one's a doozy.
Oh, I love
I
that.
like that one.
I love that
no,
flag. It has some charm.
I like that one.
No, like the colors are just like too, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like this could give someone seizures if they flashed it. You know what I mean?
I think it's striking.
like it.
I think it's striking. It's one of my favorite in the.
Yeah, striking. That's the right word. But like striking in a negative sense, just like my eyes don't want to look at it.
I think striking in a bad sense is the Washington flag.
Yes.
Because it's not like flashy. It's like you look at it and you see Washington's face and you think, why is it?
I wouldn't call that
This looks like
striking.
bad money.
I would just call this boring, not striking.
It's strikingly bad in my opinion because it actually catches my opinion whenever I look at it.
No. If you want to see strikingly bad for the state of Washington, look at the first flag they had in 1923, which is similar but drawn worse.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
It's on the flag. It's on the flag of Washington page.
Wait, so the first, yeah, that's the flag.
That's the 1923 flag.
Yeah, the 1923 flag is drawn horribly compared to the modern flag.
Oh,
What's the modern flag then?
I don't know. Look at what the modern flag. I mean, maybe. Oh, so the face is just rendered better.
Well, it's drawn completely differently too. Like the first one is almost like a cartoon from a newspaper type thing, and then the modern one just looks like a pop art done by Andy Warhol.
Yeah, it does. They really need to change that flag.
They need to get a better art department.
Yeah. What was it? Okay, so I know this isn't a question, but in the United States, which one is your favorite flag?
Like, Ohio is admittedly high up there because of the unique shape. Like, let me look at all the flags again. I do love Alaska's flag because it has the constellation in it. It's just, simple and to the point.
Yeah, it's very striking.
I like it.
Yeah, Alaska is a good winner.
New Mexico is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, there's Ohio.
Ohio's
And
That's mine.
the South Carolina flag is pretty good. The new one they have that's just blue with a white palm tree and a crescent moon.
Yeah, it's very calming. I like it because it's calming.
Yeah. And I would say those would be like the top 4 American flags.
I'd say my favorite is number 1 is Ohio.
Mhm.
I was a little bit biased. Number 2 is Texas. And then like number 3 is probably, I like California's flag.
Yeah, I like their flag.
I like their flag.
I'll agree with that.
Third. And then,
Oh yeah, I like California too.
And then New Mexico. I like New Mexico's flag. Yeah. They have
New
such a good
Mexico's
flag.
pretty
It
sweet.
looks so good.
It's
Yeah.
like the Pueblo design behind that one, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
something like that? Yeah.
When you see it,
Makes
you're like,
sense.
oh, this is New Mexico.
Mhm.
It's great. Oh wait.
I like how the flag of Oregon has a front and a back.
It does. Well, it's a beaver.
Really?
Yeah, that should just be the new Oregon flag, just a beaver.
Just beavers.
It should be. They have their stupid name on it in the front, and then it's like, yeah, we get it. It's the Oregon flag, but if you flip it around, then it's an actual interesting looking design. Even if it's just a
Yeah.
beaver, it looks pretty good.
Like all the state flags that put their names on the flag. Just come on, man. Don't do that.
Or Washington, where
Cough,
it's just a picture
Iowa.
of George Washington with like the state of Washington on it.
Yeah. Or cough, Iowa, cough. Or like all the upper Midwest flags look horrible because they just made them look like state seals.
Yeah. No
And
effort.
They have state seals, or it is some like vague allusion to the American flag with an eagle and then like liberty and peace stapled onto it, and then it says the state
Indiana,
flag.
though, is pretty decent actually.
Yeah, I like Indiana's flag. It's overly complex in my opinion, though.
Yeah.
It looks good, but it's when you look at it, it doesn't remind you of Indiana. Really, it's almost like you kind of forget about it until you see it.
Technically, this isn't a state flag, but it should be on the same page. I love the American Samoa flag. It's like a longer rectangle, and like it's a dark blue background, but then there's like a sideways red V,
Oh,
like that.
yeah, I like that.
and then there's like an eagle carrying like a
That
spear
one, actually.
that's like flying towards the side. It's pretty badass.
All right. While we're on flag talk, I do have to talk about this because I know that there's like a lot of fans and the Paradox Games people in here. But there was a game that came out in 2008 called Victoria 2 that had like dynamically changing flags, and because of the political tumultuous time with nationalism and everything like that, they actually made a for every country and hypothetical country that they could think of making in the Victorian age, they made a flag that they made a flag, but also a Republican flag, monarchist flag, fascist flag, and communist flag for every single possible country. And I was just going through it a little bit here, and there's a few that really stuck out, like Communist Confederate States of America, Fascist Israel, Canadian Fascist Canada. There's like
Fascist Canada was like a star or something, wasn't it?
it's like the maple leaf, but it's got like two swords behind it. I see Fascist Iceland. Well, there's some really really goofy ones, but like they actually like these. I don't know who these brave adventurers were who went through a whole bunch of flags for countries like the Papal States and decided to figure out what would the communist Papal States look like.
It's what it looks like currently. Ooh,
The Pope decides this. The Pope decides to seize the means of production of all the pocket Bibles that they sell everywhere.
It's pretty crazy, and like because it's like the German unification, so you have like communist and fascist flags for like places like Schleswig. Yeah, I'll give you a link as soon as I find the fascist Papal States. But the fascist Papal States,
it's like the French tricolor, except the left vertical stripe is black, the middle is white, the right one is red, and it's got the PX symbol. I know that's supposed to be like Christ, but PX symbol thing in the middle, and that's in black.
Huh.
It looks like a fascist pharmacy.
but like I've looked through this before, and like just the amount of flags they had to design for this is so crazy, and I just love that they actually like did this. But then you also had to sit down and think like, what would the two Sicilies republic look like?
I got to say though, making flags, while it is fun, I think the one thing that's more fun than making flags is making your own coat of arms.
It looked really beautiful.
All this discussion, our podcast is totally getting a flag after this.
Why?
Shall we make a contest to make a flag for the podcast?
Oh yeah. Actually, I can link. I'll link Empire of the Trident in the thing. But yeah, that's actually a fantastic idea, Tiger Star.
In fact, just like Hello Internet, we'll have an entire flag tournament where we'll pick like the top 10 designs and we'll have people vote on it, tournament style.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because we are not cheap first past the post people, we will do what's it called? The other type of voting system, ranked voting.
Well, now we officially announce the So That Happened flag contest. Yippee! I'm doing the voice again. I don't know why I'm doing the voice.
Make it happen.
Anyway, moving on. That was a good idea, Tiger Star. I like that.
I just stole it from Hello Internet. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
CGP Grey, please do not sue us. Why are we getting flagged again, Tristan? What was that all about?
Dun dun.
Was it because we were talking about flags?
Oh, just we're talking about flags on a podcast, and there's a precedent of podcast flags, so I thought we'd end up with a podcast flag.
Oh, you meant flags.
Not like YouTube flag.
I thought you were talking about somebody who's actually going to like flag us and be like, "This is offensive" or something like that, and we get taken down. That's what I
No,
thought.
I was anticipating
I thought that was.
Okay, I was confused for
I
a
thought the
second.
same thing you did.
Yeah, I was confused for a second. So anyway, moving on. Sir Tier asks, when did you guys first meet? This could be online or in real life, depending on what you think seems like the better answer. You guys want to answer that? Or did we answer
Since
that
I've
already?
never met any of you in real life, I found these guys on Skype and or Twitter and or Discord within the past. Well, Tristan just like a week ago, Tyler just now, and then Cody like what, 2 years ago, 3?
Oh, it's been forever. Yeah, it's been forever. Ever
Well,
since
like,
I was
well,
on
like-
YouTube.
Because like I've seen you in the comments of my videos, but I would say like the first time we like talked to each other on any social media might have been like 2.5 years ago.
I imagine Tiger Star, we were aware of each other's existence for a while before then. Or
I don't know.
But yeah,
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, me and Tyler have definitely known each other way longer. Than
I could give you a ton of stories back in the day when Cody was brought into our fold, essentially.
It's actually 10 years now.
Has it really been 10 years?
Yeah, because we met...
7th grade.
7th grade.
So yeah, it's about
2017.
7, well, coming up into 11 years, yeah.
Actually, wait, no, because I moved to Anthony Wayne in 2007, October.
Okay.
So it's actually this month going to be
The
10 years.
You're not getting anything. You don't win a prize. We're too broke to
Welcome
afford
to
prizes.
adulthood. That's...
Yeah, what's the
Cody-
10th anniversary gift? What's the tradition?
Well, as per
Proposal.
as per the tradition, I think we've all known each other roughly 10 years because the whole way our friend group kind of met was we all sat at this one table in the lunchroom,
Yeah.
and we had a friend. I won't say his name, but he brought Cody into the fold.
Let's
and
call him Jimmy.
Jimmy, yeah, Jimmy. Let's just say Jimmy brought Cody into the fold, and these two guys could both. They drew really cool comics back in the day. And we were like, "That's incredible! Us plebeians can't draw our art."
Which look horrible now. They look.
He says they look horrible. I still love them. I still have like binders of this stuff somewhere in my possession. But anyway, these guys were just incredible drawers, just great artists. So we wanted to they draw us comics during lunch, and we found they were hilarious. And Jimmy kind of went his own way and did his own thing. Cody stuck with us, and we've had people come and go over the years. Such as
May they rest in peace.
Such as the Northern Irishman, who Cody will get the reference, but I'm not going to say his name. He left us.
Oh yes, the guy with the hammer.
Hammer and hates fans.
Oh man.
Yeah, he left, and I really think that's it.
We had the other guy. I don't want to say his name. I don't know how better way to describe him actually.
Shabam.
Not Shabam. Reza. He was in the
Reza
group.
really?
He was a part of it for a while.
Was he?
He was. Me and
think-
Caleb talked to him for a while.
Oh. Yeah, I think yeah. That was a while ago. Jeez, that was
I
fresh.
said long time
Yeah,
ago.
that was
Well,
I hadn't left Anthony Wayne yet.
Looking it up, the 10th anniversary gift is just tin or aluminum. So all you guys would have to do each other is buy each other a soda.
Yeah, get me a Coke.
I
Just
give you
get- just
one
get each
empty
other-
Coca-Cola.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's not even your. This is technically the one that I bought with my
Wow,
money.
like, all you had to do was
And
spend-
I
That's
drank
the
my-
best gift for me. I
you
didn't
just
have
had
to
to
do
spend
anything.
You
99
handed me back
cents
the
on a
thing that I
vending
gave
machine
you.
for one new Coke, and you give him an empty Coke bottle.
That's
Or
all he
can.
gets.
You know, I think that's representational of our friendship and our relationship.
So he just does all the work, and I'm just like, that looks good, and then go do my own thing.
Congratulations, Tyler. It's a decade. You have contributed nothing to my life. Happy.
I couldn't
Shit.
afford you a gift this year, so all I got you was this soda can.
I'm
That's
a
what I
rolling
got
meme.
you.
What do you want from me?
Oh God. But yeah, I mean, if we're going with that, but skipping over, do you want to talk about one man war?
Do you want to make that public? I'll let you decide on that. I'll happily endorse it because I'm like the figurehead of that. It's your call if you want to make.
I think we could. Yeah, why not?
You want to get it out there?
Yeah, it's been a while. Okay,
Do
so
it.
we actually in high school we were bored and we had nothing to do. So
Super
we,
bored.
Yeah, so we started making videos, and this was actually the first thing on YouTube we did.
This was our first real attempt, even if you want to include stupid stunts.
Yeah. No, let's not go there. But basically, they're really horrible looking back on them now. But we thought they were super funny. And we just did these skits for probably a semester, and then we stopped.
It was like really weird late 2008, early 2009 humor.
Yeah.
So it's god awful now, but we thought they were the best things in the world back then.
Yeah, it was called One Man Warrior. And the name, now that we look back on it, really doesn't make any sense. But the story with that was me and my friend Caleb, who's probably also going to text in the next few seconds, we were thinking, like, what would be a cool, funny name, but also a name that we could do serious stuff? And for some reason, One Man Warrior was the thing that we came up with.
We never did serious stuff.
Yeah.
I think we tried one time and gave up on it.
Yeah, but then after that, and right on cue.
Right on
but after that all happened, really, we only got like 11 subscribers.
We had 102 views and 11 subscribers.
Yeah.
I remember that number precisely.
Yeah, we thought those were like big views. We were like
freaking out.
Yeah, we were like,
I remember those days.
Oh yeah, this was we were youngins, sweet and innocent.
We were basically this was a summer we were going into our freshman year in high school.
Yeah.
So we were just bored, unemployed, because none of us could work yet.
Yeah. So after that, after One Man Warrior kind of died, I was bored again. And then I remembered the thing that he was talking about with the guy who made the alternate history videos, and Alternate History Hub was born. So Alternate History Hub is only born because we made a horrible comedy channel.
Well, and I remember I actually, at the time, I was working like a 16-hour-a-day job in a factory when Cody called me one morning and said, hey, I'm doing another YouTube channel. I'm not going to say what it is, just do you want to be a part of it and do voice acting occasion? I'm like, I mean, yeah, sure, if I have time. And then I remember going over to his parents' house, essentially, and we did, I think it was what if the Mongolians fought the Romans was my very first.
No, we did If the Roman Empire Never Fell.
That's it. Yep, that's it. Which would inevitably bring them into conflict with the Mongols.
And then after that, we reached 1,000 subscribers, and we did the Soviet Union video.
Yep.
And you can go; it's on my channel now. You can go back to it.
I remember we celebrated by going to Buffalo Wild Wings because we thought we were like we're in like Flynn.
Oh, we did do that.
We went as soon as we were like we're going to beat up.
We brought Riley too.
Yeah, we took everybody with us.
Actually, that's when Riley was stuck in BG.
Yeah, so we drove all the way up to BG, then went to the B-dubs up there.
So we had to, yeah. So basically, through all of that, it was just pretty much we did.
It was just something to pass the time back then, and I don't think either me or you thought it would ever end up like this back then. Neither of us had those dreams back then.
It's still weird.
I mean, you look back on it; it's been all those years.
We were freaking.
This always continues to be weird.
It's I really can't believe. I always kind of think it's like it's not real. Like you're not.
It's a dream. You're gonna wake up eventually.
Yeah. Well, not maybe that cliche, but it's almost like you don't have these many views or something like that. I don't know. But that's pretty much how we started, and now for the first time in like 3 years, I'm
officially returning to the channel in an official capacity. I've always kind of been in the background. Something to understand is we have like a shared group chat that me and Cody and all our friends kind of just share. Like if we want to like plan something, we'll just throw something in the group chat because it's convenient for all of us. But occasionally Cody will put up artwork or he'll put an idea in there. He's like, hey, what do you guys think of this before I do this? And he'll give us a couple different choices and we'll all say our opinion. Usually we all agree with what he says because, I mean, not trying to say Cody's always right, but usually his first idea is always his best idea. And then once he kind of starts to overthink things, then it's like, no, just go back to your original idea. You had it right the first time.
That's literally all I ever do.
Like, you give us, like, the best idea, and then you're like, what if I did this? What if I did this? And you're like, no, dude, like, stick with your first idea. You got it right there.
That's why the videos take so long sometimes.
Sometimes he'll bounce a ton of ideas off of us, and he's like, we're like, do this. No, I like this better. We like this better, like, blah, blah, blah. It's very rarely there's a line drawn, and everybody's on one side or the other. Usually we're all universally like, this is the good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyway, I forgot what we were talking about.
I've lost track now.
How everybody met each other.
Oh yeah, so the way that I met you guys was, I mean, I've already said how I met Tiger Star, but I mean we've already followed each other's channels for what, a year or two now, probably. Step Back's probably been. I mean, when did you form Step Back?
I started it in September of 2015. I remembered when I was going to start it, I was like researching what the history field was like on YouTube so I could get a better grasp on it. And I emailed you out of the blue to ask for like some advice on
Yeah.
making videos and stuff. And you answered that email somehow for some reason.
Well, yeah, because it was like you were like, I want to do this channel, and if you have any advice, and I was like, wow, that's actually cool that somebody's going to do a history channel, and yeah, so it was basically from the start of your channel we've had.
Yeah, it was before my first video came up, and we had a email back and forth, and then we did a Skype call, and I think I emailed you for a little bit at the beginning of the channel, but then we kind of fell out of touch because we were both busy. But then we met each other in person back in June at VidCon at that party that YouTube was hosting.
Can we talk about the party and how weird that was? I remember
stories you told us.
How about we talked about the party last podcast?
We didn't talk
Probably.
They did. I remember it.
What, the actual YouTuber party?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I remember that. See, it pays to listen.
Oh, the one with CGP Grey was there too.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remembered that we completely ran into each other by surprise. We didn't even know that we were going to be at the same party.
Oh yeah, because you said Cody, and I thought like, wait a second, who is this guy? And I saw your shirt, and I actually hugged you. Yeah. I was like Tristan, and everyone laughed.
It was a magic moment.
It was.
Oh my god.
Bell the ball. But yeah, that was, and then we pretty much throughout all of VidCon, you and Matt were the only people that I hung out with, and yeah, that was.
And Alaric.
I hung out with Alaric. Oh, and Alaric. I only saw Alaric 2 times though. That was fun. That was a fun trip. It was a nifty trip. But yeah, that's how we met. That's how. And now we are here trying to fail to entertain you. Isn't that great?
I think we've done a good job at entertaining.
Self-deprecating humor is also entertaining.
That is true.
There you go. But
so let's do one more question, and then we can.
Okay, I think this is something for all of us because we're all narcissists. Have you ever considered writing a book?
Yes.
Yes.
What is it all about? Let's go Tiger Star first.
Okay, so my entire book writing process is, I just thought of a cool idea in my head. I'm gonna get to work on this. I'll like type up like a chapter or 2, and then life. Oh wait, what was I gonna write again? Oh, that was a stupid idea. I can think of a better idea. Repeat.
Story of my life too. Story of his life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a never-ending process. It's always torture.
And like all of the books, except for one, were alternate history novels, and then the other one was like, for whatever reason, I'm like, I should do like a horror story based on werewolves. But then I just like, wait a minute, this is way too overdone, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'll just try another alternate history, and of course that never went anywhere.
I mean, alternate history is always the thing that I go back to because it's just the thing we know is history. So if you imagine
the problem
fiction involving that,
like
alternate history is so hard though because like you have way more ideas for scenarios than like stories to happen in the scenario. You know,
like
I feel like I'm the opposite. I feel like I'm almost the opposite because when I do an alternate history scenario, I think of the plot first. And then I think of how the scenario can go around to influence this plot. It's kind of the opposite of what Turtle Dove does. But
like
what?
Oh, sorry, I got cut off. The furthest I ever went was now I'm going to clarify. When I tried to work on this one, I was like maybe 13. So I did not know everything, so just keep that in mind. The plot of my story was it was going to be if the Central Powers won World War I, and it was going to be like in a fascist France or whatever. And because I had recently read a bunch of Turtle Dove books, I'm just like, okay, so I need to think of like the Nazi equivalent of everything for France, so it could like mirror the rise of Nazi Germany.
So it is a Turtle Dove book.
Yeah. So like when I was, well, except I only had like 2 sets of main characters instead of 13.
Oh boy.
But so the problem was France was just too boring to make it too similar to Germany because like, okay, so Germany annexed Austria. What's France going to do? Andorra. Like I. Because I looked it up that like Andorra is like ruled by the co-rulers of Spain and France. So I had it to where it's like, okay, so they support Franco in the Civil War in exchange for letting France annex Andorra. And then, like,
Makes sense.
Monaco has the clause where, like, if they don't have an heir, then France inherits the entire country. So, oh no, the fascist French thugs assassinated the Prince of Monaco, and so they annexed Monaco. Like, so just then I just kind of looked on it. And I'm just like, wow, Andorra, Monaco. This isn't really going anywhere. And that's
yeah.
not
Like,
exactly
how does that turn
that
into something
impressive.
with like? How does it turn into something with like characters and like events
Well,
and plots and
the-
like stuff
the-
on the ground?
The Sudetenland Pact thing ended up just being partitioning Belgium between Germany and France, or not Sudetenland,
Was
Poland.
there like a plot line for that? Was that like its own separate plot line, or it just happened? Like, oh, they just get split.
Because I was 13 and stupid, I just had all the characters be real historical leaders.
Mm.
So, like, screw the plot. I'll just pretend I know what this fake dictator of France is thinking, and what Kaiser Wilhelm is thinking, and what Winston Churchill is thinking, and all this stuff.
So they're like, this will happen now. This should happen.
Yeah.
And then he does
And-
does it.
And the problem is, when I had Germany and France divide up Belgium, and that was their equivalent of Poland, it's like, well, who's France gonna go war with? Okay, stupid idea. Scrap this for the next book.
Well,
That's basically every single idea I've ever done is you try to think of past chapter 2 plot line, and then it falls apart. Like the initial concept, chapter 1, and then just dies. And it's like 100 ideas I've had. Tristan, how about you?
yeah. Well, first things first is I actually am in a situation where I pretty much have to write a book because I'm doing a PhD. I'm working on it right now, and it's a 300-page document of original research, which happen. But when that's done, I'm planning on turning that into a book that people will want to read, and then after that, maybe some more. Like I have an idea for like a coffee table book after that. But
we should definitely shamelessly promote it on this live stream. Be great.
Yeah, this will be like in 2020, 2021, something like that.
If we're still doing this live, I don't know why we would, but if we are,
Keep the good
Because
times.
we like talking to each other, and we're narcissists.
Yeah, narcissism. There's
actually,
endless motivation.
Yeah. Continue.
I
was
also
gonna go
think
on this
at one
whole other
point I'm
thing.
going to. Oh gosh, I think but I'd have to think of a plot that I really like. Right now, I have an idea for this space version of the Spanish Civil War kind of thing.
Wait, space version of the Spanish
This
Civil
seems like
War?
an awesome 80s movie.
You can't just say that.
Spanish Civil War in space.
Franco
What
activated his
happens?
lightsaber.
How does this happen?
Franco's a space marine.
Not like the literal Spanish Civil War, but like the kind of Abraham Lincoln Brigade story, but done in like a science fiction content.
Oh. Interesting.
Ernest Hemingway unsheathes his lightsaber and clashes with Darth Francisco Franco.
Then Princess Hitler comes out.
He
this has
never-
gone off the rails.
Your publisher never told you about your novel, Hemingway. He told me enough. He said you suppressed it. No, this is your novel.
Oh boy.
Really shotgunning it. Anyway, how about you, Tyler?
Actually, I think you know where I'm going to be going with this, because this is also back when we first met. I was writing a book. I actually got a lot of chapters wrote. I just actually started working after I got like decently far into it, and I just gave up on it because I just didn't have the time. It was the old book called War Torn. Remember that?
Oh!
Way long ago.
Wait, we both had a book called War Torn, though.
When did you have a book called War Torn?
I had one with the individual villages.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think mine came first, and you kind of didn't you take like the ideas of like, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. You're like, that's a cool idea, and then I let you just have it.
I don't even remember.
I don't remember.
I don't-
Don't blame me. But anyway, my book was basically it was heavily inspired by, I think I just got fallen in love with like the Fallout series. So this whole idea of like post-apocalyptic America was kind of new to me at that time. So I wrote, basically I got like 4 or 5 chapters into it, and like I said, just life came up and I couldn't do it anymore. But it basically followed the story of a group of people surviving in basically what was the remnants of like the Ohio wilderness. Like all society has collapsed. The ecosystem was ruined. Resources were just run out. It was just basically a bad place. It wasn't like Mad Max where the whole world becomes desert, but basically the forest had retaken everything. There was enough chemical and biological weapons used that stuff started mutating roughly 20 years after the conflict was started because nobody wanted. Basically, my thought process was the armies that were nuking America. I didn't say who they were. Didn't want to destroy everything. They wanted just to remove the people. So when they came in, they would still have a roughly intact infrastructure, so they could still use roads and factories and all this stuff. But they just wouldn't have the pesky annoyance of a resistance from a local population. So they could just move their population here and just retool everything for whatever they wanted to use it for. But we got to them first and did the same thing to them, so that nobody had any people left. And that's basically where it started. It just followed a small group of people trying to survive. There was super mutants, power armor, very, like I said, very heavily inspired by Fallout, the universe at whole.
I think a lot of stuff.
I just want to say that the chat has thought that Tyler was Emperor Tiger Star for like most of the podcast.
Really?
Wait, what?
You don't sound.
We don't sound alike.
Actually, you kind of do.
Do we?
Yeah. Do we?
Both you speak.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I can see that.
Do we really? What?
Yeah, I can see that.
Wait, how do we sound
Tyler
the
and
same?
Emperor Tiger Star are not the same person. Let's just say
My
that.
God.
No, really, do we sound the same?
I'm questioning this.
Yeah, you do. You do. Yeah.
No,
I don't think we do.
Yeah.
I'm listening to both of our voices on the stream. We do not sound the same.
I'm saying the same thing.
Tristan, what do you think?
I hear it. I hear it.
I hear it. Yeah.
I don't like this.
I don't either.
Do you both think you have deeper voices than you actually do, or what?
I think my voice is on the verge of not too annoying.
Your voice is annoying. None of your guys' voices aren't annoying.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're not trying to like enshrine you here, but I think your voice is majestic. For when you do your channel.
Majestic.
I
You
think
could
it's-
have used a better
someone
word
in the
than
chat-
majestic. Now I feel awkward.
Someone in the chat says
I'm not
that
freaking
Tyler
Mufasa.
Someone in the chat says that Tyler sounds like the perfect middle between me and Cody.
I don't.
Who knows?
I don't know about that one.
It's actually a secret love child between
Whoa.
them. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's how we secretly
Am
met.
I just like the 37th clone of Hitler? No one will ever
Tiger
know.
Star, you have to pay me alimony. Anyway.
Whoa.
No, we signed a prenup.
I'm taking you to court. But yeah.
This whole court is not a
Oh
bar.
my God.
Oh, I also need to say that Tyler is also not my brother. So there are actually two Tylers. There's this Tyler, who is my friend, not related. And then there is Tyler, who writes for Knowledge Hub, and he's voiced some videos, which I feel like if you've actually seen his voice kind of sounds like me.
It's
but,
closer. His voice is a lot deeper than mine.
Yeah. So, so two different people. Anyway.
We need to call one of them Ty.
That's what you
I
call
do.
your
I
brother.
yeah. I actually call my brother Ty.
So there you go.
I can safely say I've never been called Ty in my life.
That's actually a good solution. We could just call him Ty on the internet.
So that's all you tell him when we talk to you about your brother.
Yeah.
So
Because whenever I'm talking to him about you, I call you Stuka.
that's my nickname. Oh, should we divulge that, or do we have time for that?
We can say
has
it.
called me
We can
that.
save it for next week.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a whole lot of stuff we could talk about.
We have a lot of
but
stuff
anyway,
to talk about.
was that your book?
That's pretty much that's the bulk of it. I mean, I got like 5 chapters in. It pretty much ended up with every chapter one of the main characters was going to die, but I wanted to write in a way that no one knew how or when or who was going to die. They just knew that it's eventually. I wanted to set up where every chapter somebody that's actively being talked about right now and is actively influencing the story and moving the plot forward is going to die in some fashion.
I like it.
This is pre Game of Thrones, so I didn't have any I didn't know anything about George R. R. Martin just killing off major characters at whim. I wanted to make it just seem random,
Yeah.
to where really anything could happen at any moment. And I think I had a character that was kind of based off of you and all of our friends at the time. That's kind of how the core character started, and more came and more went. And I had to I think by the 5th chapter I killed myself off because I didn't like where my character was going in terms of how the story's moving. So I had myself step on a landmine and just my foot is on the landmine, and I tell them like, you need to leave right now, or we're all going to die. And everybody left. I did like a salute, and I stepped off the landmine, just pillar of fire. I think that's kind of how that was my own send off for myself.
Country road, take me home.
Oh God,
to the place.
You guys are kind of cutting out.
Yeah, I think they're having a moment.
We're having a moment. But yeah, can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh God, that was too much of a moment.
Yeah. But anyway, I like that. That's like
that was my own.
That sounds like XCOM 2, but like without aliens.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
someone in the chat just said that Cody, you helped him with his school paper.
Oh, that's
Don't
cool.
sing Country Roads in vain.
I'm not singing it in vain. I just suck at singing. Come on. Yes. They're laughing that they have no lives. Yeah, you're right, Melon Man. You're always right. But my story idea, I'm gonna make this quick because I don't want everyone dying. Mines is more of a concept right now, but it's kind of an alternate history fantasy, sort of, which sounds weird.
It's all fantasy.
It's basically where it's a world, it's an alternate timeline where the moon is habitable, and it's pretty much a mini version of Earth. It was never desolated. It has water and trees and animals and all that stuff.
So is it like once we got people up there, like were there people, native inhabitants
No,
there?
there's just it's pretty much humans were born on Earth, and they've just always looked at the sky for millennia, and have just always seen this other Earth, or this other like.
So it's always been that big question of how do we get there and what's up there.
Yeah, so it shapes their religion, it shapes people's entire perspective of stuff, and it really influences.
A young Newt Gingrich decides that he's going to be the first man to make it a state.
That's the entire. He's the main character and everything. It's fun. But yeah, so that's the first part, and then it actually takes place, really, really like far in the future, like farther than 40K.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. Where kind of what happened with Terra happened.
So Terra kind of just depleted all of its everything, got overpopulated.
Yeah, like all of Earth is basically one huge city, like Coruscant.
Okay, so it's just a giant city essentially.
But, all of the story takes place on Earth, where all of the humans are basically gone, and their remnants have pretty much become these giant forests. So the trees of this world are these giant mile-high skyscrapers, which are basically the new mountains and stuff.
Gotcha.
Well, anyway, the concept that I have is that it's either going to be like a future robot thing or a person or anyway, but they look at this like moon, which they can see lights out on, which shows that the last humans or wherever these humans are on the moon, or on this world. And then I had another concept, which was like the last remnant of the ocean had like a giant building that opened up, and there's like this transport that like goes in the earth. But anyway, it was a very complex thing. I had a diagram that I shared on Twitter, which I'll show you after this.
Okay.
But yeah, it was pretty much alternate history, but also fantasy. And then my girlfriend Izzy, who's like big into fairies and stuff.
I remember you told me about that.
It inspired me to have these robot fairy things, which were like super futuristic.
Were they just designed off of the myth of fairies or whatever like that?
Yeah, and they're kind of like, they live in this alternate future thing. But I don't even know what I'm going to do with it, but it's like an idea that I had. And who knows? So that is pretty much the last question we have. And you guys want to end it?
Yeah, that sounds about good.
Yippee!
I'm Emperor Tiger Star.
I'm Tristan from Step Back History.
And I'm Tyler.
And I'm Cody from the Alternate History Hub. Like and subscribe and all that jazz.